friend of Dad's who ran a hardware store in Promise Falls before the Home Depot opened up outside of town and put him out of business, Dad's younger brother Ted and his wife Roberta from Cleveland, and a woman named Hannah, whose last name I never got, who lived just down the road from Dad. And there was a woman Thomas and I knew from high school, Julie McGill, who worked for the local paper, the Promise Falls Standard, and had written the story about Dad's accident. She hadn't come to report on the funeral. How Dad died had made him a small news item, but he wasn't Citizen of the Year or head of the Rotary or anything. His service to the community was not newsworthy. Julie had come to pay her respects. Simple as that. The funeral home had a lot of egg salad sandwiches left over. They insisted I take some back to the house for my brother. I'd explained his absence by saying he wasn't feeling well, but no one, at least no one who knew my brother, believed it. I was tempted to pitch the sandwiches out the car window on the way home, let the birds enjoy them instead of my brother. But I didn't. I took them home, and they all got eaten. "I'd hoped your brother might have come," Harry said. "It's been some time since I've seen him." At first I thought he meant to this meeting, which puzzled me, since my brother was not an executor. Then I realized Harry meant the funeral. "Yeah, well, I gave it my best shot," I said. "He wasn't really sick. I figured. I tried to talk him into it, but it was pointless." Peyton shook his head sympathetically. "Your father, he tried to do his best by him, just like when your mother, Rose, God bless her, was still with us." "How long's it been?" "She passed away in 2005. After that, it must have been even more difficult for him." "He was still with P&L then," I said. "Prentice and Long, the printers. I think maybe after he took that early retirement, not long after that, it got tougher. Being there all the time, it got to him. But he wasn't the kind of man to run away from something." I bit my lip. "Mom, she found ways not to let it bother her. She had a way of accepting things, but it was tougher for Dad." "Adam was a young man, really," Harry said. 62, for Christ's sake. I was stunned when I heard. "Yeah, well, me too," I said. I don't know how many times Mom told him over the years that cutting grass on that steep hill on the lawn tractor was dangerous, but he always insisted he knew what he was doing. Thing is, that part of the property, it's way back of the house. You can't see it from the road or any of the neighbors' places. The ground slopes almost 45 degrees down to the creek. Dad would mow along there sideways, leaning his body into the hill so the tractor wouldn't tip over." "How long do they think your father was out there before they found him, Ray?" "Dad probably went out to cut the grass after lunch and wasn't discovered until nearly 6. When the tractor flipped over on top of him, the top edge of the steering wheel landed across his middle." I pointed to my own stomach. You know, his abdomen. "And it crushed his insides." "Jesus," Harry said. He touched his own stomach, imagining the pain my father must have felt for God knew how long. I didn't have much to add to that. "He was a year younger than me," Harry said, wincing. "We'd get together for a drink now and then. Back when Rose was alive, we'd play a round of golf every once in a while, but he didn't feel he could leave your brother on his own for the time it took to play 18 holes. Dad wasn't very good at it anyway," I said. Harry smiled ruefully. "I'm not going to lie. Not a bad putter, but he couldn't drive worth a shit." I laughed. "Yeah. But once Rose passed, your dad didn't even have time to hit a bucket of balls at the driving range." "He spoke highly of you," I said. "You were always a friend first and his lawyer second." They'd known each other at least 25 years, back to when Harry was going through a divorce and, after giving his house to his ex-wife, lived for a time above a shoe store here in downtown Promise Falls in upstate New York. Harry used to joke that he had a lot of nerve offering his services as a divorce attorney after getting taken to the cleaners during his own. Harry's phone emitted a single chime indicating an email had landed, but he didn't even glance at it. "Last time I talked to Dad," I said, nodding at the phone, "he was thinking about getting one of those. He had a phone that would take pictures, but it was an old one, and it didn't take very good ones. And he wanted a phone that would be easy for sending emails." All this new high-tech stuff never scared at him, Harry said, then clapped his hands together, signaling it was time to move on to why I was here. You were saying at the funeral that you've still got the studio in Burlington? I lived across the state line in Vermont. Yeah.